Hi, welcome everyone to today's webinar, Discover Marketing 101. I'm just going to start off by saying that this webinar is being recorded and the PowerPoint presentation and link to the recording will be emailed to you. If you have any questions, please type it in the chat or you can use the Q&A feature and questions will be answered at the end of the presentation. And before we get started, we're just going to launch a quick poll. We would like to know, launch that. Okay. We would like to know, do you own your own business? Do you have a marketing budget? And do you have a marketing plan? So we'll give you a few seconds to answer those questions. All right, I'll go ahead and share the results. So looks like you have a business and yes, you have a marketing budget and a marketing plan. Excellent. Thank you for taking that poll. And from here, I will turn it over to our presenter for today, Rieva Lesonsky. Rieva?
Great. Thank you, Christina. And thank you, SCORE, for inviting me to do this. We are going to talk about Discovery Marketing 101. This is the first in a three-part series. Next month, we're going to talk about social media, and then we're going to do a deep dive into email marketing. I have a lot of slides here today. This is who I am. This is how you can find me. My company is GrowBiz Media, and our website is smallbusinesscurrents.com. So you can email me at rieva@growbizmedia.com or follow me on Twitter at Rieva, R-I-E-V-A. So again, a lot of slides. Christina's going to make sure that you all get the slide deck. So the slides are packed with information so you can refer to it at a later date and figure out what was it that she said. So if you have any questions, also email me and let me know. So we're going to jump in because, like I said, we have a lot to talk about. So the old way of marketing, and when I say old, we're like talking less than a decade, is everybody knows they need to market, all small business owners, but so they would, okay, here's my search engine marketing plan, and here's my social media plan, and oh, I got to deal with ratings and maybe voice search or mobile or email, and like, okay, and so they had these buckets, right, silos or buckets where they dealt with it. That doesn't work. Marketing needs to be integrated, and your business, whether it's an online business or an in-store business or both, or a restaurant or an accounting office, whatever it is, it's at the hub of this wheel essentially, and everything feeds into that hub. And if I were better at PowerPoint, I would connect all the blue dots as well, but I don't know how to do that. So everything is all interconnected. It really does actually form a wheel. Marketing magic. So people used to think, oh, if I build it, they'll come, the customers will come. That's a myth. That doesn't work. The whole point of marketing is to build trust. And you can only do that if you have people discover you, if people know that you exist. I've always said, I can have the best product or service in the world, the best business idea. If you don't market it, nobody knows that you have that, and you'll go out of business. So marketing is at the key, and at the key of marketing is trust. The whole point of marketing is to build relationships, to let consumers know you exist and get them to trust you, because that old saying is true. It's a cliche because it's true. People do business with people they know, like, and trust. So that's the whole point of everything what we're going to talk about today. So what does marketing actually do? Well, all the components of marketing, the things listed on the left side of your screen, what they do is what's on the right side. They build awareness, they build trust, they explain and inform, they attract customers, increase sales, form relationships, give you that ability, allows you to have conversations with consumers and improve engagement. So it's all really important to do market. Went backwards, sorry. Okay, so here's 10 great things, 10 things that great marketers do every day, and I'm going to kind of rush through this. because there's enough information on here that you can read it for yourself, or you can, if you have any questions on any part, check with your SCORE mentor about, well, what does that mean, or how do I do that? So you have to set a goal. You have to have, I'm glad that person who responded to the poll, you have to have a budget, and you have to have a marketing plan or a strategy to say, okay, this is what I'm going to do with that budget. So set a goal. What do you want to do with your marketing? What are you trying to achieve? What is your competition doing, right? You can't ignore them. Maybe they're doing something you're not, and maybe that's why they're doing better than you. Or maybe you're doing something that they're not, and that's why you're doing better than them. But you need to know what they're doing in order to compare that. Figure out who your target audience is, right? None of us are Walmart or Costco or Target. We're not trying to reach the entire world. Who is your best core customer? That's not to say you can't branch out from that person, but you figure out who's my core customer and create that buyer persona. Like, you know, what do they like to do? What do they like to buy? How do they like to buy it? How much money do they spend? All that information is available to you, a lot of it from the information you collect from your customers. And then that's how you're building your marketing efforts around attracting that person. You want to create interesting content. I was saying before the webinar started that one of the things that as small business owners we all do is we live in Google's world, right? So however many years ago, Google decided that everybody needed to create content on their website. So we all need to create content on your website, on our websites. I'll go into that in a little bit later, but it's about, this is what you're doing. You're creating books and ebooks and blogs and infographics to attract people to your site. You want to nurture relationships. So that's what really, once you use marketing to attract a customer, you then need to have a different marketing plan to keep that customer, to retain them, because the attention today is customers are being pulled in all directions. Engage in social listening. So what that is, it's not just about participating in social media, it's about listening to what's being said on social media, even on sites you don't participate in. It's about learning what's going on and what people are thinking. You want to segment the market, right? That's about, you want to, again, figuring out who your buyer is, who your most likely target is, and segment them. Often by pain points is a good way to do that. Like, what's keeping them up at night? What are they having problems with? What are their challenges? Because your business exists, right, to solve those challenges. So if you can identify the people who are having the struggles with the thing that your business solves, then you're like points ahead of where you would be if you didn't understand that. Conduct tests on websites, always experiment, figure out what worked, and then experiment from that, make that your test, your solid, and then you go off on that, new iterations, new social media platforms. There's always something new today, especially with technology. Always, you want to measure and analyze your data. That's, I think, really important. It's not just about doing it, it's checking out what worked, what didn't work, maybe why it didn't work. If you don't monitor it and you don't analyze it, it's not really doing you any good, because you don't know if it's working or not. And then innovate, right? It's about doing the thing that makes you stand out from your competition. There are 2 billion websites online. So of course you're not competing with all of them. Some of them are in other languages. They're not trying to attract American consumers or even maybe local consumers, but there's a lot that are. More than, I've always said, when you look at the internet today, it's the mall. In the old days, in the 60s, when the mall started opening around the mid 60s, people shopped at neighborhood businesses, and then the neighborhood expanded because the malls became the neighborhood business for several neighborhoods. And now with the internet, it's really the neighborhood business for the world, right? If somebody wanted to order from you from halfway around the world, if you have a website, chances are they could. So, but chances are your customers could order from a business halfway around the world. So you have a lot of competition today. So figure out how you're going to stand out from your competitors. So how do you reach customers today? What's the deal? What do consumers want? Well, 92% of consumers expect some kind of discount. That's just what it is today. Whether the economy is good, this is one thing I've noticed doing this presentation and doing the research over the last more than a decade. When the economy is good or when the economy is bad, it does not matter. People want a deal. So they want percentage off deals. You can see that that's the most popular. People don't like to pay for shipping today, so they want some kind of free shipping promotion. A smaller amount want a dollar amount off rather than a percentage amount off. And 12% would rather have a buy one, get one free kind of discount. That is my least favorite because sometimes I don't want two of those things. So I as a consumer, I'm a big believer in the percentage off discounts. So we talked about this in our seminar last month about social purpose for businesses is about consumers today consider consumerism their channel for change. They are boycotting companies. They're looking to do business with companies that reflect their own values. And so you have to figure out what your values are and make sure once you do that to communicate that in your marketing, because millennials and Gen Z, which are just two huge generations, and basically covering the age from teenagers and teens are spending to people in their early 40s, you're talking about millions and millions and millions of Americans, probably way more than a third of the population between the two generations. And so those are the people who are spending and buying, and you want to make sure that you are not alienating them. So now we're going to get into some of the specific marketing methods and what you need to take care of. So search, right? We all, as consumers, and that's one of the things I want you to think about. As don't often, sometimes do a check on what as a consumer do you like? What as a consumer do you not like? And make sure that things that make you angry when you're looking for something on someone else's site, when you're shopping, that you're not doing that exact same thing. Because sometimes we think, I really hate that. And it turns out that's what you do too. So you can see there's a lot of internet users worldwide. So you're obviously going to reach some of those, even if you're not targeting them. Google averages 40,000 searches every second. So in the time I said that, there's untold number of searches, 1.2 million searches a year. That's just Google. And so people are searching for stuff. And that's where most journeys start today, is at the search engine. Even if people, in the old days, people said you have to have a .com because that's the only thing people remember. People remember nothing today. So they sit down, even if they know your business and they've done business with you, they sit down at their search engine and start to type in your name. If they've done business before, it's going to fill in, it's going to pop up, but you are now in charge of dealing with this, having to fix it so people find you when they sit down to search. 40% of online searches had 2 words and 23% had 3. Okay, so this gets in a little bit of the weeds here, and I'm not going to go through each point, but there's 2 main things about search. SEO is search engine optimization. That's one component of search engine marketing, right? That's the overarching thing. Search engine optimization, it's SEO. It's cheaper, but it takes time to do. So that's optimizing your search engine. That's what it means. It means about going into the search engine, maybe paying for stuff to get people to go, to get them to get to your site. That's really what you're doing. You're optimizing the search thing. So when people sit down to search, your site's going to come up and not be buried on page 27, because nobody searches through that many pages when they're searching for something. So the advantages of SEO, it's cheaper over time. Search traffic is pretty stable, because once you get ranked on Google, you're gonna basically retain that. You're not going to disappear. You just have to keep optimizing your ranking. Google doesn't like turn you off, even if you have no marketing budget. You're on there, and it's an organic listing, and that builds authority, right? People go, oh, I've heard of them, and you're not on page 27. The problem is, the downside is algorithms change all the time. And Google does this all the time. Sometimes they announce what they're changing, sometimes they don't. So like several years ago, um, all of a sudden it became important to be mobily optimized, right? People started using their smartphones more for buying and researching. And Google said, hey, they really explained it. We're going to make mobile ranking a ranking factor, your mobile optimization, but we're going to do it in stages. And they let people know, by this date you better have a mobile site, by this date it better be this. And as you're going to see, they've even made those requirements more minute, like you have to do this. SEO has to be done constantly. You have to constantly optimize your site because your competitors are doing it. It takes time to show results. It's not going to be overnight. And you need some skills and expertise and time to do it. So this is one of those things where I recommend you outsource it. You don't need an employee. You can outsource this to someone who, basically consults or does it for you on a part-time basis. So that's the SEO. PPC, which is where you're paying per click, that's the other main way to get people to know that you exist on a search engine. PPC, you get quicker results because you're paying for it. You're paying to be higher in that search engine. So PPC pay above the ranking. So when you Google something, right? So here are your organic rankings, and on top of those, it might say ad. There are things, and if people click on it, you can see all the code in there. That's because people are paying to be above the organic rankings. It helps you pinpoint your target audience a little better, and you can run A/B tests on your PPC ad. Maybe, again, you can test and experiment, choose what works as your test, and then experiment off that. PPC is expensive, though. It costs more money than SEO. Every time somebody clicks on something, you're paying money. And depending on what that word is, it can be pretty expensive. Particularly certain industries cost a lot more than others. There are lower profit margins with pay-per-click because it does cost more. And you have to change your ads, because if it's coming up in that position every time, people are just going to, oh, I've seen that before, and they're not going to click on it. So you have to do something that looks different. So which is better? Well, if your budget is low, SEO works. If you're trying to build brand authority, if you're kind of a new business, or this is you've newly launched online, SEO is really good because you want to build familiarity with consumers. You want to get used to them seeing that you're there. You're trying to build your brand that way. If you're creating content, SEO, that's why you create content. You'll see that later on. PPC, if you're looking for quick results, if something is, if you have a brand new invention or something, you want to use PPC to get people's attention to it immediately. If something is time sensitive, it's a sale, or like, hey, we have this for 2 weeks only. SEO won't help you really, because it takes a longer time to build. And so if you want to direct your audience to a landing page or a sales page or something that's time sensitive, you want to use PPC. Instead of like, here's one, here's the other, what you really want to do is marry them both. So one of the ways to do that is create retargeting ads. We're going to talk about retargeting a little bit later. You want to, again, this goes back to what I said at the beginning about integrating. You want to promote your web content with your social media, whether it's your social media posting, social media ads, however you choose to work with social media. And you want to collect data from your ads, right? Again, that's the analyzing part. You're doing these things to collect the data, to look at it and say, what is this telling me? And then to put that into use for your next ad campaign. I hope that everybody has a website. I know at this point, this slide should not even be in here, but it is because I know so many businesses don't have websites. They think it's too small. I'm on Facebook. It doesn't matter. It matters. Facebook is a way to supplement your site, but it's not the site. It's not, you don't own it. You don't own what you have on Facebook. Facebook owns that. You don't own what you put on any social media platform. They own it. So it's their control. They change their algorithms all the time. They change their rules all the time. They change, it's their design, it's theirs. It's just theirs. You're renting space, right? Instead of owning your home. A website is, think of it that way. You build a website and then everything you do is feeding into your website. And whether your website is then used to promote your business or you're selling on your website itself, it doesn't matter. What matters is it's yours and it's your content, your design. It's not going to go away. You're not going to change algorithms that kind of mess you up to yourself. So that's why it's really important. Surveys have shown that businesses that actively engage online grow 40% faster than businesses that don't. So you can't really ignore those numbers. So remember I mentioned mobile a little bit ago. You have to, when you have a website today, at least it goes everywhere, right? It's not, there used to be, well, we'll design a site for the desktop and then we'll design a site for mobile. Now they're designed for everything at one time, but you need to check your mobile site because it has to load really fast. People are really impatient and less patient when they're searching on their phones or tablets. So you want to make sure things load quickly, are easy to navigate, that you have photos, particularly if you have an e-commerce site. You want your photos to be big enough so a consumer can see it, but it can't be so big that it slows your load time. That's really important. Make sure you don't have too many forms on your site because people are using them on a mobile phone, so you don't want to have them fill it out, and give them the ability to check. Remember this for next time. So the next time they come back, it's even easier to shop with you. You want to make sure your site is secure. Chrome, which is owned by Google, is the biggest browser out there. More users, far more than anybody else. And if your site, if it's not secure up top, if you don't have the S on the end, Chrome actually says not secure. Some, for me also, some sites that are not secure, they won't even let me proceed. Like I want to go to that site and I say, it's okay, let me go. And my computer's like, no. The browser is like, no, we're not letting you through. It's not secure, even though I know that it is. So you want to make sure that you are secure. It costs like hundreds of dollars to switch to that. It's very cheap. Make sure your call to action on your mobile site is easy to find because you're dealing with a smaller footprint. Menus short and sweet. Again, think about your experience on a phone. What do you hate? Don't be doing what you hate. Make it easy to get back to the homepage on a phone. That's really key, and it's really hard to do. Search actions on a phone. I love this. This is mobile search actions, right? So somebody goes into a store and they would rather look up information about that product on their phone than talk to one of your employees. What that says about employees today, I don't know. It's not good, whatever that is, whatever that says. But it used to be people would whip out a phone in the store and people thought, oh, they're seeing what it costs on Amazon and they're not going to buy from me, and they panicked. What they're doing is often they're reading reviews. Right? They look in this and think, oh, maybe I want to buy this. And then they're picking up their phone to check out what people are saying about this product. Is it is it terrible? Is it going to fall apart? So they're reading reviews. So understand that people are checking, and maybe have your store personnel say, hey, can I help you? Do you have any questions about this item? And if you have your store people understand what the reviews say, they can say, and not be lying about, oh, you know what, if you look this up on Yelp, you know, so many people really love this product. At first, they're probably not going to believe you. If this is their first time in this store, it's like, yeah, that's a sales pitch. But over time, if you earn their trust, they're going to start believing in your employees and say, oh yeah, okay, I believe this store. I trust. Remember what we said, the whole point is this store, so I'm going to take their word for it. Consumers who did a local search ended up in a store within 5 miles, so it is hyper local. And people who have bad mobile experiences they're not going to buy from you again. Speed's important. Like I said, on average, it takes a little over 15 seconds to load a mobile page, and that is way too much time. Way too much time for consumers. They're like 3 seconds or I'm out of here. That sounds really short, but if you time it, it works. In retail, a 1 second delay can cost you business. So speed's important. Go check your speed. It's free. It's from Google. That's a live link. Or if it doesn't work, you just type that in there and Google will tell you that you're too slow, and they'll actually give you a report about why. And that's really important because mobile page speed is one of those organic factors. So what I said, Google adds to their algorithms. So how fast your site loads on a mobile device is going to affect where you rise organically without paying for it in the search engines. And that's really important. Online directories. Why do you use a directory? And these are things like what used to be the biggest directory of all, not online, the yellow pages. So these are basically online places that people are going to look up businesses. There's so many of them. NAP is name, address, and phone number. You want to make sure they're consistent across all of them. Some people say street on one and ST on the other, and somehow the computers get confused. You want to make sure you have a company description. Here's a whole bunch of reasons why you need to do it. You need to be listed in the online directories. It helps your SEO organically, which is really important. You're going to generate fresh leads. It's just part of the discovery process. So you have to claim your listing. And the first one you have to claim is Google My Business because it's the biggest. There's no question. The second biggest is Bing, and there's about 25% of all US search queries are window-based, meaning people are searching on Bing, so you don't want to ignore it. But start with Google My Business. This is the thing that when you go to Google and you type in a business, it's the thing that shows up on the right side of your screen. That's your Google My Business linking. So chances are you have a listing, whether you claimed it or not. Because that's what they've compiled, but it may not be accurate. So you want to make sure it's accurate, and you want to make sure you keep it accurate. It always lists store hours in there. Change that. If your store hours are changing, like if you're a retail store and you're extending your hours on a holiday, make sure you put that on there. It's really important. If you're closing early on a certain day, you want to change your Google My Business listing, I think, in real time. It's really important to keep this up to date in real time. There are so many search directories. That's just the top 20 of them that are national, never mind local ones. So what you really want to make sure, I think this is another one of those tasks, just outsource it. There are companies that do this for not a whole lot of money that make sure that your listings are consistent across many online business directories. Email. So later in the summer, we're going to be doing a deep dive on email. So there's a lot of information here, but it's not a deep dive of info. So email is the ruler of the marketing kingdom. $42 are generated for every dollar you spend. You can see on certain industries, it's actually a little bit less or more. So email is the most efficient, effective way to market your business. So you can look at this chart and see that, okay, if this is your goal to build awareness, blogs and short articles are the first thing that you do, right? If you want, so email's not good for that because you're emailing, if you get new addresses, you're kind of emailing people blind. In a lot of cases, it's going to go to their spam filter. They're not going to know you exist. But once you get that customer, once you get them familiar with you, you want to secure a lead, emails number one. You want to nurture your lead, emails number one. If you want to convert that lead, emails number two to in-person events. We're not having as many in-person events these days. So really, I would say at best, they're tied. So let's look at some of the numbers. Constant Contact says the average open rate for emails is a little under 30%. The click-through rate is really, look at that. That's really low. That's really sad. And the bounce rate is about 10%. Personalization is going to lead to an increase in click-through rates. People will click through more if you personalize that email. It'll boost conversion as well. Emails based on audience segmentation, meaning that goes back to what we said earlier. Figure out who your audience is, what they want. That increases revenue by 50%. Most people just expect you're going to know a little bit about their preferences when you email them. So you want to make sure that you're offering a personalized email experience. And it works in B2B as well as B2C. It's just as important. 64% of small businesses are using email marketing to reach your customers. So that's not quite 2/3. So if you're in that huge group that's not, you really need to start doing that now. A lot of email campaigns, people are doing it. They're not optimized for mobile devices. So they're sending an email that can't be read on a phone, and most people are reading stuff on their phone. So you're just wasting money. Email marketing has increased in engagement during the pandemic. That's really important to note. People had more time sitting at their devices or their computer. And 80% of marketers polled said they'd rather give up social media marketing than email marketing. And you can see that baby boomers, so now you're talking all the buying generations, think that email is the most personal channel, followed by, 72% of Gen Xers and still over 60% of millennials and Gen Z. There is no best day to send emails, right? What's best is what works for you. So experiment. This is one of the things you want to experiment with. According to Campaign Monitor, Friday has the highest open rate. Saturday has the lowest open rate because a lot of times people are out there not checking emails on Saturdays. OmniSend says send them early in the morning. They seem to have the best results. I've seen other things that say email sent right after lunchtime really work well. People come back from lunch, look at their computer, go through their email. It really depends on what you're doing. If you want people to buy something, if you're an e-commerce site, sometimes email sent at night when people are sitting down, they've eaten dinner, or they've put the kids to bed, have the most immediate effect because that's when they're looking at their devices and have time to shop. So experiment. This is all up to you. Subject lines, again, you want to experiment, but in general, lines less than 100 characters or less. Ones that are more than that have a higher click-through rate, even though most emails are shorter. So you want to look at that. And again, it's all about experimenting. Should you use emojis? Well, only 4% of emails use emojis in their cover lines, but the ones that do get a 3% higher open rate. That's kind of, interesting. Words that improve in the subject line newsletter, because people know they ordered it, they improve the open rate. Forward, don't put FW in there. And, I put it in there because it improves open rate, but it's really not. It's kind of dishonest if you do that and are trying to pretend that people are forwarding this to you. And PDF, because again, they think, oh, this is something they ordered. Don't use the word you. That's kind of counterintuitive, but it lowers open rate. And it's not about all caps or red or exclamation points, because nothing that you're emailing them is that important. You can see this is how people measure success on email, click-through rate, open rate, and post-email conversions. So conversion rate are the most important. So Email Tool Tester is a great website to go to. It really explains in depth the email marketing tools, because you need tools to build an effective campaign. These are the ones that are free, that all of those companies have paid and free, but they all have free options. Email Tool Tester has ranked their free options, given these are the ones that are 4 stars or more. But if you go to the site, they explain in depth what's good and what's it's not. I find it's a very effective, useful site. Don't spam because it'll just cost you a lot of money. It even could cost you your business. Check out what the spam rules are at the FTC site. And that resource there, that's a really good article information about spamming. Direct mail, you know, it used to be the stuff we get and throw in the garbage, but so many people did that there's less direct mail. So now people are like, oh, what is this? I'm going to take a look. So you can see the numbers. It's growing, you know, not by billions and billions every year, but by a lot of money. The market is growing. And so it's expensive though. It's expensive to engage in direct mail. You can see the average response is maybe 3% to 4.5%. So basically you're a success if you're 96% failing. That costs a lot of money to do. 83% of purchases, however, are influenced by direct mail. Millennials are paying attention to it because they don't get a whole lot of it. And you can see the average response time, according to the Data and Marketing Association, is faster than email. One of the most effective ways to do direct mail is using postcards because it's cheaper. And they have the US Postal Service has a plan. I think it's called Every Neighborhood, or I'm sorry, I should have written it down and I forgot to do that. But check with your local USPS office because you can get a postcard delivered by zip code in your area. It's really specific and pretty affordable. Social media, like I said, we're going to do a deep dive on this next month. But an overview, why be social? Because basically it's your best way to increase brand awareness and increase website traffic. It's really good for generating leads and boosting sales. The benefits, basically, I just sort of said what they are. A lot of companies now are using social as their customer service channel because consumers are turning to social as a customer service channel. They'd rather tweet at you or message you on Facebook than sit on hold on a phone, you know, for a long period of time. Social media ads are very affordable, so you want to check that out. They're cheap and they're very, you can target minute segments of the audience. The trends of social media provided by HubSpot and TalkWalker, people are using it more. Content is better than production quality. So they're looking for the quality of your content. It's not just looking good. It's the steak, not the sizzle, which I think has always worked in marketing. Be conversational. Video is really important. We're going to look at that in a minute. More businesses are using live options, Facebook Live, Twitter Live. Everybody has the live option. You want to be authentic. Don't try to be who you're not, and be conversational because people are turning to social media to see what you're saying. Capitalize in these trends, meaning use video because it's important. Create relatable content. Be conversational. You know, those were the trends. Now you have to put them into work. Social selling, we talked about this last time. It's about selling directly from your social platform. It's increasing. People are buying from social platforms more. So you can see, and the trajectory is to keep doing that. So it might, if you're not doing it, it might be something you want to look into. All the sites offer guidelines into how you can do this. I'm not going to go through this slide, but you can see the numbers. People trusting our social commerce is low at the moment, but it's building because the sales are building. So obviously more and more people are embracing it. Millennials and Gen Z don't have a problem with it. The 3 top social networks, people don't think of YouTube as a social network, but it is. Basically, tune in next month when we talk about it, but you need to register at all the social networks, all of them. You don't have to use all of them, but I want you to claim your spot on all of them. Basically, nearly 80% of Americans have at least one social account. Visual social posts 40 times more likely to get shared. So that's really important. So the platforms, we're going to take a really quick look. The demographic differences, you can see demographically that some people use one platform over another. LinkedIn is really big in the B2B world. Women are more apt to use Pinterest. Okay, so the best times to post on social. I don't know. So I found this information from Hootsuite, which is a huge site. So that, that's not good information, but I'm sure that I could find different information somewhere else. So just look at this, and I would say try it, right? If this is what Hootsuite is saying, that this is the best time to post, try it, see if it works, measure it, and see, okay, that worked, and then try some other times. These are the top social monitoring tools, because you want to monitor your results. All the social networks have their own tools, which are free. Most of these are not free, but they could be affordable. See what you get for them, and how much you have to pay, and see if it's worth your while. Those are some more articles on social media that are really important. Video marketing, Wise Owl just put out their new 2022 survey. Oops. So these are really up to date. 86% of small businesses use video as a marketing tool. And again, this is a really current survey. This is from their survey. 92% value video. You can see they're using a broad range of videos. Their budget is not a whole lot of money, 0 to 500, for 40%, and 97% spend less than $10,000. So it's an affordable option for most small businesses. You can see the most common kinds of video that are working. Number one, pretty much by far, is explainer video, and then social media, which social media people are trying to be viral, or again, they're using social media. They're using an explaining media, a video on social media. These are, according to the new Wise Owl survey, these are what small businesses, or businesses in general, I think mostly small, these are the channels they intend to use this year. As you can see, YouTube is ranked highly up there. These are, I said reasons. I should have said excuses, but I didn't want to be negative. These are the reasons people give for, I don't want to do video. I don't know where to start. I don't have time. If that's you, if you don't know where to start, check with your SCORE mentor. They'll help you figure it out. This is why, because this is the ROI. This is what people say we're getting back from video marketing. Those numbers are pretty compelling, right? That is pretty compelling, that most people are saying it increases brand awareness. It gets people to understand what we're doing. It's good ROI. It's generating leads. It's generating sales. People are hanging out longer. So particularly, again, if your audience skews younger, it's really important. Text marketing. This is a report. There's not that much information out there in general, like on the other marketing, as there is on text marketing. So here's what we know about text marketing that is just completely objective information. People have smartphones and they're constantly checking. If they get a text, they tend to look at that text immediately. Where email, their phone is not pinging every time they get an email. So they're going to check email later. They're going to look at a text every time their phone goes off. Now, they may not respond to that at that time, but they're going to check their phone. So that's the advantage of it. They're going to see what you send. But if you send it constantly, it doesn't matter. I'm a big consumer, and people, you go on a website and it says sign up for texts and you get 10% off. And I did. And then these people, I get a text every day. I'm not, even if I bought something, I'm still getting texts every day. I'm not going to do that much buying. I find the text intrusive. So now I'll say, okay, 10%. So what am I going to save? $5? I don't care. And then I don't sign up. So you have to find that happy medium where people don't feel you're intruding on them. I'm not young, so maybe that's me. Maybe that's why I'm a little bit annoyed about it. But I don't think you need to send a text marketing every day, but like once or twice a week. I think, find that moderate pace. Retailers are obviously the group that uses text marketing the most. Why market during text? Because via text, because people are looking at it. They are checking out what it says. When you look at the numbers, they have a good click-through rate. Remember how low the click-through rate was on emails. Their click-through rate is at 19%. Again, it's less competitive too. You don't have as many companies text marketing, and so you're going to shine a little bit more. You're going to stand out a little bit more, but more and more companies are adopting it. Here's some better practices. It's better to text later in the week. You can see twice as high before 9 a.m. and after 9 p.m. So basically, they might look at your text during working hours, but they're not going to really interact with it except before work and after. So you want to be clear about your CTA. What do you want them to do? What's your call to action? And be short. Don't send these really long marketing texts. Nobody has any patience. To look at it, eMarketer, which is one of my favorite places to get information, says challenges include higher unsubscribe rates because people are sending text messages every day. That's why people are unsubscribing. Rating and review sites. So it used to be, I used to go pre-pandemic, I used to go to and give presentations all around the country, and I'd be sitting at tables with entrepreneurs, and I used to say Yelp is the most hated company among small business owners because everybody hated that people were rating them and reviewing them on Yelp. But it's, again, like Google, it's a fact. People are doing it because consumers trust those reviews. This stat always kills me. 79% of consumers trust an online review as much as a personal recommendation from people they know. That is a pretty scary factor when you think of they're trusting people they don't know what they're saying online as much as if their best friend says, I just went to this restaurant and it was delicious. And so that's why you need to pay attention to these reviews. 89% of consumers are reading online reviews before they buy something. 59% read them on Google. That's the number one place. It used to be Yelp. It's now Google, but Yelp is still up there. And 55% of consumers read 4 product reviews before they buy a product. And so you need to know what people are saying about you online. You can't hide your head in the sand and say, I'm not going to look because I don't want to know. So you want people to review you online. Ask for them. Yelp says you're not allowed to ask, but they're not monitoring what you're doing. You can't compensate people for them. That's basically illegal. You can't say, I'll pay you money for a good Yelp review. And a lot of these come out in the cosmetics industry. There was a mini scandal about a company that was actually paying for reviews. And it diminished the product, but it also diminished the site. A lot of them were showing up on Sephora's site. So they've taken measures to sort of make sure that doesn't happen. Respond, see what people are saying and respond to people. If somebody says something and it's complimentary, just say thanks. So they know that there's a person there, because again, that's getting to know your customer. That's telling your customer that you're reading your review and that you care. So just a thanks or glad you like that is good, makes them feel heard. And that's really important. You can share your online reviews in your communication, obviously the good ones. If you're highly rated, you want to tout that to attract employees, to attract other customers, tell your current employees what's going on so they take pride that they work for you and what they're doing. If it's a negative review, do not get into a fight online with somebody who has left you a negative review. Just say, I'm sorry you had that experience. How can I make it up for you? Let's take this conversation offline to discuss it. There are bad people out there who are going to try to say nasty things to sort of better their business and put you down. Don't fight with them. At some point, you might just have to move on, right? You don't want to have that battle. And at some point you just might say, I'm sorry, we're never going to agree on this, have a great day. This is what I was saying. With a negative review, you want to have an open dialogue. And that's important even for the people who don't leave negative reviews, because again, they see that you're engaged. They see that you care about your customers. And don't freak out because they look at businesses that only have glowing reviews and they don't believe them, because everybody has something that they've done wrong. And so if a consumer sees something and everything is, oh, it's the best, it's the best, it's the best, they think, oh, you know what, there's got to be something wrong. They're hiding their reviews. They're not being honest. So that's really important. It's why you want to be honest. Content marketing. Why do we need to have content marketing? Because Google says so. Why? Because you're feeding the hungry spiders. This is what it is. So it's a worldwide web, right? So basically what it is, spiders, the bots are crawling around the web looking for food. When you post something new on your website, a little ping goes off and they go, ooh, food. And they rush over to your site. And that's what makes that ping happen, right? So they know that something's there. The spider comes by and it pings and it's increasing you organically. I want you to look at it as feeding the neighborhood cat. When think of content as you put food out, and when you put the food out, the cats come by. If you don't put food out, the cat may wander by every now and then to see if you have food out. But once you start putting out the food, they come regularly because they know there's food. So once you start posting content on a regular basis, like maybe 3 times a week, the spiders are like, ooh, I'm going to get fed if I go to that site. And they're going to swing by your site more regularly. And it just helps you rise organically in the rankings. It's kind of a weird analogy, but I like that illustration. So I always try to work it in. So you can see the content for a buyer's journey. It's different for B2B to B2C, but you can see what works, you're starting out to attract. This is not a best, this is the process. To attract people B2B, you do a checklist. To attract people B2C who don't know you, it's viral. It's really hard to do viral. So, don't set out with, I'm going to go viral, because sometimes that's backfires. But you can see the parts that leading from attraction to, oh, maybe I'm going to do business with that company, to conversion of, yeah, here's a company I'm going to do business with. This slide is a little bit old. It's about a year old, but I couldn't find an updated one. And my guess is it hasn't changed very much. So in the B2B world, these are the places that B2B marketers have found the most luck with distributing their content. Social media is basically tied with email and their own blog. So that's pretty good. It's not all dependent on one. So look at those 3 things if you're in the B2B world and see how you can balance your marketing budget around those, and then consider those other things. In the B2C world, social media also number 1, but it ranks there's a little bit more space between it and number 2 and number 3. Email B2B was very important. Still 79%, it's important, but consumers are basically looking for organic content distributed through social media, right? So you might say on Twitter, hey, check out this great whatever, and lead them to your website. That's the point of posting on social media. You don't need to Twitter, you only have this, 280 something words to make that. So you're not going to do complete content on Twitter. Here's the types of contents to create. Or to think about ultimate guides, like a guide to doing whatever it is that your business does. Trend pieces, if you're in a business like fashion that tends to be trendy, you might want to talk about 10 best dresses to wear this month, or 10 best, sweatpants, or 10, you may not want to use the word best, you might want to use top. Just, think about trend pieces and lists. Lists are great because they're easy to read. People don't want to be met with like, okay, I'm going to go to this site and like, oh, there's so many words there, I'm not going to read that. So think about what you're selling and think about how you can create lists around those. And again, the best guide is posting fresh content 3 times a week is really ideal. How-to guides, if you're if you're not like selling clothing, if you're a tech site or an accountant, how to, like, okay, tax day is in a couple of days. What have you done in the last couple of months to inform your clients about, hey, here's tax savings, how to save money on taxes. Buying guides, comparison pieces are really good in your industry. Like if and then not necessarily even for the stuff you sell, but for what you do. If you sell kids clothing, and you did like a buyer's guide or comparison piece on kids baby monitors, your audience, whether they're interested in kids stuff, they're going to be attracted by that piece. And you might find new people who don't know you, who are attracted by their piece because they go to Google and Google baby monitors. It's about creating content that's relevant to your business. Don't create content that's not relevant, because somehow Google knows. So there's a lot of free tools and resources, places to find out what the keywords are that are going to use in your content. There's a lot of controversy about keyword worded content. I don't think most small businesses should worry about them, because it will take you forever. And sometimes that stuff does not read as authentic. I know I have clients who make me write that way, and it just like eats me up inside when I'm like writing a sentence that's bad grammar, but I got to stick in keywords or something. So I think for most small businesses, don't worry about that. You can outsource all of this as well, or outsource I have a client who outsources to an SEO person who comes up with the keywords, who gives them to me, and then we build the article around the keywords. So there's all sorts of outsourcing in parts, in full, figure out what's best. There's places that you can go that you just type in the info and they'll create a beautiful infographic for you. Evergreen guides are really important. Content gets really specific. You're a small business, you got to figure out what works for you and what you have the time to do. And sitting down creating all this stuff is not it. You have to create content, but it doesn't need to be, unless you're a content site, it just needs to be what's relevant to your audience and your business. Again, video is considered content. Create a calendar. It kind of helps you. One way to do that is to look at the holidays and create content around that holiday, right? Like if you sell food, it's like, hey, 10 best picnic foods for 4th of July. Just think like a consumer. Just sit down and brainstorm about what is this holiday? What do people do on this holiday? Even if it's, you're not necessarily, it's about people who are at their computer, who are searching on 4th of July. So you want to, again, include the keyword of the holiday in your search, in your content, and create a promotion strategy. Curating content. So that's taking content from other places that's relevant and curating it. And you can do that as a newsletter. You can do that on your website. Just make sure you give attribution. But it's good because you're not working that hard. You can't just steal it. You have to, introduce it. You have to link to it, say what, where it came from, and make sure you link to that. But it really helps in terms of time, because you're curating around a topic or a theme or what your audience wants, and it's a lot easier for you to get that done. Here's other content resources, places you can get more information on content. Retargeting, I'm going to do this really fast. Retargeting to those ads, you know what they are. You go online, you check out a product, you don't buy it, or even if you do, you go on another website completely different and you see what you were looking at, right? And people retarget for a long period of time. It works, because that's why you can see by the numbers, that's why people do it so much. It can get annoying on the consumer side, to the point where I think if you retarget for too long, people don't even see it anymore, or they'll look at that and say, I already took, I bought whatever that was, 3 weeks ago. Why are you bothering me? That's just a thought they have. But it really, retargeting is very effective. You can see that people are doing it to bring the customer back, remind them, hey, you thought about buying this? And people are busy today. Sometimes they'll abandon what they were looking at just because they didn't have time. And if it shows up, on when they're on another site, they're like reminded and like, oh, I'm going to go buy that. Green marketing, we discussed this last month. I don't want to take a lot of time over it. Most Americans say, particularly millennials and Gen Zers, we'll spend more money for eco-friendly products, but we don't really believe you when you claim it's eco-friendly, so you need to prove it to me. And not only should that be on the product label, but you need to do that in your marketing because they're just not going to believe you. So you need to come up with the third-party bona fides that say, yeah, this is green because, or you explain in your marketing, it doesn't contain these ingredients. I mean, obviously you have to do it pithier than that. So it's green, and that's really important. Again, people are skeptical. So you want to collect information, third-party sources to show them. B2B marketing has evolved. B2B marketing used to be completely different than B2C. Now B2B marketers have adopted B2C procedures. You can look at this later because most of the times I'm talking to people, they're B2C people, but you can look at this later. Here are priorities from marketing professional site. It's a really good site where what you want to prioritize as a B2B marketer. B2B, they want the personal touch, right? Zoom fatigue is real. People are re-examining live events these days and dictating team learning and development on B2B. It's about B2B used to be a more personal experience, kind of the good old boys network. So that doesn't work anymore because there's a lot of people doing B2B that are not good old boys, but you want to establish those relationships. But again, B2B has adopted B2C marketing. So you got to court them, right? They're not going to immediately go, hey, yeah, let's do business. It's not like that. And you can see that the most popular social platforms for B2B, LinkedIn by far, there's no question about it. And Facebook is there because it's just so big, you can't ignore Facebook. But Twitter, that surprised me. Twitter is very effective for B2B, spreading B2B messages. And there are some stats on B2B, and I'm doing this fast because I know we're out of time and we want to get to questions. So you can see that online chat, these are things that are important to B2B buyers, but this is the key. The first one there on the left, 77% of buyers won't talk to a salesperson unless they've done their own research. So they're checking you out online. They're checking out all the stuff, and they're not even going to take your call. They're not going to answer your email. They're not going to do anything until they check you out, which is why you want to make sure your online persona, where again, reviews, that whole thing you would do if you were selling, clothes or food, you have to do as a B2B person. These are some resources from SCORE. So I'm done. Christina, do you want to talk about your resources here?
Yes, Rieva, thank you so much for the presentation today. I'm just going to cover these resources. We do have a lot of marketing resources. If you go to score.org, you can search on the top right corner on the search bar. We just typed in marketing, and that is the link where it will take you to. If you would like to request a mentor, which I highly recommend, you can click on that link, score.org/find-mentor. And we're always looking for volunteers. So if you would like to join SCORE, that is the link there. We also have plenty of upcoming webinars on our website. Our local website is centralvalley.score.org. And if you have any questions, you can contact us at that email. And on the next slide, I'm going to go ahead and launch the exit poll. Give me a few seconds. All right, it should pop up on your screen now. We would just like to know, was today's webinar eventful for you? Do you need a marketing mentor? So a mentor's knowledgeable in marketing. And would you recommend SCORE to a friend? If you do, we do ask if you can please like us and follow us on Facebook. which is at Score Central Valley. So we'll give it a few seconds for you to answer those questions. In the meantime, if you have any questions, put them in the chat, or you can type them in the Q&A section. All right, majority of you voted. Thank you for voting. So I'll go ahead and share the results here for everyone. So everyone found today's presentation helpful and eventful. And let's see, so about 40% of you would like a mentor, 60% of you do not need a mentor at the moment, and everybody will give us a like on Facebook. Excellent, thank you very much. So we will get to the Q&A. I see a question here. So what are the rules and unsubscribe rates for text marketing?
Wait, can you say that again? The rules for, I'm going to stop the screen share, right?
Rules and unsubscribe rates for text
Yeah,
marketing?
so, okay, so there are rules for text marketing just as with email. So if somebody says, it's generally type stop and you have to stop. You just have to, because again, you can get reported for spam for texting as well as you can for emailing. It's a different reporting mechanism. So there are no rules for how many texts you can send. That's just basically don't send too many. I mean, basically, if you notice, and it's really easy to monitor this. If you notice you send a text and you get this many replies, and then you send another one the next day, and you notice that your replies they're dwindling. You're not getting the same response. You're texting too much, right? You don't even need to look at that and to say, to like do a deep dive on that. It's just there. So you can text as much as you want. The tolerance is in what your customers want, but if they say stop, you have to stop immediately. And the one thing I noticed with text marketing is they're better at stopping immediately than email, which sometimes takes a few days. But it's a must to obey that.
Hey, and from Veronica, are we going to get today's slides? Yes, I will send out the slides and the link to the recording for today's presentation. Okay, and a comment from Alyssa, when social media goes down, you should have an email list.
Yeah, that's the whole point of the of what I said about integrating your marketing, right? You can't be overly dependent on one aspect because you're right. Social media could go down. People have, and it's interesting how they use it. A few weeks ago, Facebook was down and they took to Twitter to tell Facebook users we're down and we'll let you know when we're up, basically through Twitter. And so it's about creating an integrated approach. You should always do social media. That's going to go down. You should have an email list that you can, like, maybe immediately, if people use your social media a lot, send out an immediate email and say, hey, we're down, we're sorry. And what you notice a lot of people do, the next day will say, we're so sorry. We went down. This is even for website disruptions. We're so sorry we went down. Here's 10% off to make it up to you. Or, here's whatever that deal is. Again, it might not be, it's not the amount of money you're doing then. It's just sort of acknowledging that you've disrupted their day and that you're feeling bad about it and you want to make good. And so use all your different marketing channels together to create a cohesive message that says, we're here for you, we care about you, we can solve your problems.
All right, Rieva, and how much should a new business budget for marketing?
You know what? I don't know. I can't answer you because that's why you need a SCORE mentor. I'm a big believer in SCORE mentors. because that's going to depend on what your industry is, how much money you have to begin with. And at the beginning, a new business, you have to build your recognition. You have to build your brand. So I think what a lot of companies do is they spend too much money at the beginning, a lot of new companies doing things that you would do halfway through the process because people don't even know who you are first. So it's important to get people to know you, to get people to understand you. And the most cost-effective way to do that is social media. Because what social media does is it puts other people to work for you, right? So you have this many people on Twitter, let's say, but each one of them have a bigger network and a bigger network. And so it's getting them to spread your message to people who don't know you exist. I do that as a consumer. Like, I'll follow, some friends, and a friend will just say, oh, I just used this brand new face something and it was awesome. And I'll either message my friend and say, is that really true? Or like, do you have dry skin, or some question? And she'll say, yeah. And I'll just go back and I'll take her message and I'll go to that website. And so social is a great way to build awareness when people don't know who you are. Again, like I said before, you can't email them because you don't have their addresses. So the whole idea is to get them to discover you so they'll sign up, give you an email. One of the things, can I caution people here, and I'm going to do this again, monitor habits that make you crazy as a consumer. The thing that makes me crazy as a consumer is I go to a website and in less than 2 seconds, I'll get a pop-up that says, sign up now for 10% off or 20% off. I'm not going to sign up. I don't even know what's on your site. Give me a minute or two to check what you're selling before you try to get my name, because I know that's what you're trying to do. And maybe your site's not relevant to me. And so I'm not going to sign up, but then I resent the fact that you're shoving it in my face. So give people a moment before you pop up and say, sign up for something, to see, oh yeah, I like this site. And then, think about how much time that takes. Maybe it's 1 minute, maybe it's 30 seconds. A score mentor will tell you better what that is than I can. And then that's when you hit them with the pop-up.
Okay, and a question from Cindy. I don't have a computer. Can I still market my business on my phone?
Yes. Yeah. Our phones today are as powerful. And I forget what the thing is. It's like 9 times more powerful than the most powerful computer was in the 90s or something. I mean, it's extraordinary. So yeah, you can do it from your phone. You can do it from a tablet. It gives you all those places, give you those tools to use that you can use mobilely. You shouldn't have a problem at all.
Excellent. And Rieva, you were mentioning spam. So like Constant Contact, can they shut down your account for spam messages? Or
yeah, if they get a lot of complaints from consumers, like if there's a lot of spam complaints, they can normally, what they will do is say something to you first, because often if you've been hacked, you don't even know you're doing that, right? You don't know, maybe something's happened where you're spamming people and you're not even aware that you're spamming people. So the Constant Contacts, the MailChimps of the world, they'll get that complaint, and a good company will then reach out to you and go, hey, Christina, stop your spamming, or you're spamming people. What are you doing? And you go, whoa, I didn't even know it. And then contact your web person immediately to try to trace the source of what that is. It happened to us a couple of years ago, and turned out there was some site in Russia that were just trying to, was just sending random messages, and we had no idea. So we use MailChimp. Our MailChimp reached out to us and said, what are you doing? And we were like, okay. And it, our web guys solved it in a day. but that's why you have to monitor everything. It's a good idea to sign up for your own stuff. That way you can actually see what's happening. If you sign up, get another address, not your work address, like, what Gmail, iCloud, Hotmail, Yahoo, whatever your email of choice is, and sign up as a customer of your own email so you can see what's getting delivered and you can see what's going to spam.
Good point. Yeah. And one other question here. What should be a basic marketing strategy for a new entrepreneur?
Okay, so again, you need, it depends on your industry, it depends on what you're doing, it depends if you're in person, if you're in store, in office, online only, some combination of both. But you start with the basics. The basics is brand building. So the first thing you do is you figure out what's your mission, what's your purpose, create a logo. Don't spend a ton of money creating a logo, and then try to define your target market, like create those buyer personas, and then ask yourself, where can I find that target market? Where's the best place that I'm going to be able to reach those people? Is it going to be, if it's younger people, it might be including a little money for direct mail in there. If it's really younger people, social media is going to be your place to kind of get your toehold done. I will tell you, I have interviewed 2 entrepreneurs in the last month who swear that their new business could not have started. They both retail. One is a kitchen device, a blender, and one was a woman who sells clothing. And they both had websites. So they didn't only have a Facebook page, but they say that they basically established their business, built their brand on Facebook because of that viral thing I told you about. They had this many customers, but those people knew other people and told their friends, hey, check this out. And this one woman swears she just does Facebook Live every single day, showing something new that comes into her online store. And she's built just an enormous nationwide business from, I think, Oklahoma. I can't remember right now, but she sells nationwide because of the power of social media. So I think at the beginning, you don't have a lot of money. So look at what is the most cost effective, but I think you have to have a little bit of everything in there because I do think integrated marketing is the key to success for no matter what stage you're in.
Excellent. So Rieva, can you please let us know your next webinar that we'll be having, Social Media 101, on May 17th? Can you please talk about that?
Yeah, so I gave you some information on social here today, but I have a lot more to share, a little bit more of a deep dive on each platform, who's using it, what's the best platform to use for what purposes. Like I just mentioned, these people launched a business on Facebook. You couldn't really launch a business, let's say, on Twitter, because it doesn't give you that much space. But how to utilize the tools, how to utilize the analytics, what is the best. I actually have things, it depends, because every time you look at this, depending on whose survey you use, it's different. But what's, the best method on that platform? If you post, I had said 40% about using illustrations. If you post something on Facebook and use an illustration, for instance, you'll get a 70, or a photo, you get a 70% better response. So we're going to be looking at that, the deep dives of which platform is good for which people and how you do it. It's sort of like a 5-point, 7-point social media marketing strategy, because it's like I said, you need to claim your stake on every single one of them as soon as possible, whether you use them or not. If you don't use them, they don't penalize you. It doesn't cost you anything, but nobody can come in and use your business name on that. So we'll explain that, how to do it, what to do, and why it's important.
Excellent. And I'll be sure to send everybody the flyer for that webinar, the link to the registration, That's pretty much all what we have for you today. I want to thank Rieva. Rieva, thank you very much for your time.
Of course.
Everyone will be sent the link to the recording and the PowerPoint presentation in a PDF format. And I want to remind everyone tomorrow is our Simple Steps session 2. We're going to cover the business concept, which will take you step-by-step guidance and researching your idea, your market, and your competition. So I'll also send the link to the registration for that. So with that, thank you everyone for attending today. Have a great rest of your day.
Bye.
Volunteers stay on, please, Reba.